everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. As usual, we are so grateful, so blessed to have so many of you join us every single week. Saturdays, 9:30, that's when we're here. And if you have friends that you still haven't told, just tell them to go to sidebartv.com. That's where you'll find all of the platforms that we are on with Sidebar. You know what I wanted to bring up, because I've been watching R-Rated, and I know that it's a totally different show, but people really need to know about it because y'all have such great topics. And maybe you're not talking about politics, but you are kind of talking about politics. And I was wondering if you could tell everybody what time, how can they find R-Rated Christianity?
Yeah, R-Rated Christianity is the Christian apologetics podcast. It comes from the Greek word apologia, to give a defense for something. You can be an Islamic apologist, you can be a Hindu apologist, an atheist apologist. You can just giving a defense. That's all it means. The Greek word, it just means to defend something. And so we look at the world through a biblical lens, and we look at politics, culture, current events, everything through Christianity. We should. But we're not unique to this. I mean, the Islamic person does the same thing. The atheist does the same thing. The Hindu, everybody does. Yeah. Your worldview is how the lens you look at things and you process information. And so we're at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays, and we usually have Maurice and Marquise on for a while. They've been out for a season. I think they're coming back soon. Sometimes we have guests on. Pastor David Cameron comes on sometimes, and other pastors at times. And sometimes just us talking about topics and hot topics, and we debate. George and I will debate on some. It's like here, but it's different. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's a little raw. R stands for real, raw, and redemptive. R-Rated Christianity. And so, we talk a little rough.
Anybody that hasn't seen it, you really should take the time, because it's fun. It's different than Sidebar, but you'll really learn a lot, and you'll get
your faith
a good
has
message.
To mean something. I mean, for us as Christ followers, I mean, our faith has to be in play. I mean, in action. This is not like you got the lotto ticket, you keep it to yourself and stay in a closet and wait for Jesus to come back, or you go to him. That's not the Great Commission. Matthew 28:19 is to go into all nations, making disciples of all men, teaching them to obey all that I've commanded. Now, we always joke, I mean, I've been saying this for years in the men's Bible study. There's an 11th commandment. It's in Exodus somewhere. It's like, don't be a dick, okay? So, I mean, that means move the needle by being persuasive. Now, don't be weak, be bold, be courageous, stand firm, but also don't be harsh just to be harsh. And that, a lot of people think of Christians that way. But don't be amenable just to be amenable to and be liked. So again, there's that happy balance of grace and truth. I always say truth without grace comes across harsh, but grace without truth is deception. And so you just got to, through the Holy Spirit, balance that out and pray and work and then, try to hopefully bring people to the finding knowledge and the truth of Christ, who he was and is.
You guys, the reason I bring that up is, I mean, it really does go back to the deal. I mean, I don't know if you want to start the show already, but it really does make me go back to thinking about the deal in Iran. Gangbusters in the beginning. We're America. Everybody's proud. And now everybody is just attacking each other. You didn't do this right. You're not a good leader. What happened? You've given up. Iran is claiming that they're the winners. And it made me think, even on the drive over here, Father's Day is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And do you remember, was it just last year that everybody was calling Trump daddy? Like he's the daddy of everybody, all of the countries. And it was a joke, but in reality, it kind of felt that way, like he was taking care of us. And I want to say first, happy Father's Day to you guys. And I'm not blowing smoke. Like you guys amaze me every single day with the incredible jobs that you do with your own families. And I've said this to George before, like even if I'm taking my girls to the coast, I'm like, I don't know how guys do it. How are you the dad? You're packing, you are in charge of everything. And it's such a huge weight on your shoulders, but you do it lovingly. You do it as that's your job. And I feel like that's kind of what Trump was trying to do with this Iran deal, trying to take care of everybody, but sometimes dads cry alone.
I want to give a trigger warning.
Okay.
I'm going to give a trigger warning to all of our friends and followers and our opponents. But there's going to be a trigger warning right now. I'm going to give another second to get people ready for the trigger warning.
Okay.
They're not going to be happy about our opinion on this Iran
Do you
deal.
see what I'm saying, though?
I guess.
He
Look,
was the daddy, but daddies make mistakes,
Yeah,
don't they? Don't they?
I think. Look, I'm still of the belief that the move against Iran was the right move. I believe that because I understand the threat. I mean, other people that don't, they're making decisions about, they don't like something else about it, and they're letting it conflate or distract them on the full analysis. Again, I've made the comparison to North Korea. We don't want another North Korea. We do not want Iran with a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
They don't understand the mutual destruction theory that Kim Jong-un or whatever his ugly ass haircut face says about. He understands that if I press this button,
Yeah.
the button's being pressed back to me, and mine, theirs are worse than mine. So that's mutual destruction theory. Because out of mutual destruction, I can use it as a bully, and we can play checkmate, and there'll be a stalemate. But we understand that if one of us uses it, we're good, and he's going to be done before us because we're bigger. So, but Iran doesn't believe that. If you look at their eschatology, meaning their end times, what they believe about the end times and Armageddon, and that they're supposed to be part of ushering in, study it. It's not my opinion. This is what Sal and I were talking about in George before the show today. I mean, you have to understand the ideology. And so I agree 100%, not 99%, with going into Iran to completely dismantle the nuclear
Capability.
and their program. But this is not a deal. This was not a deal. I don't think it's a good deal. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'll just give the answers. I'm going to kick it off to George because George will offend enough people himself. He's more passionate about it than I think I am. This was a memorandum of understanding. This is not a deal. This just says, hey, we're going to negotiate for the next 60 days. But in the meantime, let me pay you a bunch of money, meaning you can move your oil. So we paid them off.
How come they said we didn't pay him off? That wasn't American money.
But listen to what I'm saying, though. The strait is open. They're making money now.
Absolutely.
They're making money now because we can't control the strait. That was a big farce that we can go in there and be big bullies.
Yeah.
And what we have to understand is Iran is in complete control of the strait.
Yeah.
It's the same shit from 40 years this whole time. Now, did Trump act? Yes. Did other presidents, should they have acted? Yes. I give him credit for all that. But somebody misadvised him on how this was going to actually play out and what the exit strategy was. What was the true plan on accomplishing a very noble and good goal? But what did he really accomplish? Did he take out their military and certain Air Force and Navy? Well, I guess. But their missiles, tremendous missiles. Tremendous missiles. They got tremendous missiles. They can still do it, and their capability, and they're just going to start building it back up. Because now, even before a deal, you know how you make it. I don't know if he didn't read his book, but Iran played him. George, you can disagree with me if you want.
Now that always gets me. I'm waiting for the
I'm waiting for the second book to come out.
Sequel to
He's the next American president that got played.
No, but let's just play
the latest.
Well, in a different way.
Yeah.
Why would you, if you know that's your bargaining chip because they are being strangled, why would you release it? There's no guarantee you're going to have a deal in 60 days. This is the same MO. Right, George? I mean, and I have more to say, but I know George is like, crawling out of his skin to criticize.
He covers like 50 things in 3 seconds, and I'm like
overview.
I'm catatonic. I'm like, I don't know where to start. There's so much good stuff. Where do you start? I
start wherever you want.
It's hard to find such an avid Trump supporter as one will find in me. I have been, you guys know that. In fact, people have chimed in, this guy's a zealot for Trump. Everything Trump is wonderful. I mean, as I like to say, I use the example of walking between the raindrops. People think I carry as water. I mean, it's just not true. When Trump does something very well, I try to be very forthright about it, and I try to explain why, and why I think, not why it benefits Trump politically, but why it benefits the country. I think his policies, and I still think that way. And if November 2024 was today, knowing what I know about what's going on, I'd still vote for Trump. Overall, I think his policies have blessed this country richly. And I think, quite frankly, in many ways, political ways, he has truly salvaged the country from the proverbial precipice. Politically, can you imagine, we like to say, if in fact Kamala Harris was in power right now, what would the country look like?
It wouldn't be the country.
So, and most people who are rational have that reaction. And so I still feel that way. On this particular war and on this deal, this is a Frankenstein. Really, it's an absolute mess, and I don't think it's a political win in the slightest. And I think, and let me just say, here's the win. The win, and this is what he wanted, and he said that. He said it. If you want to know why Trump did this deal, for those of you who don't think it makes sense, It's because he said in his words that he didn't want to preside over an economic catastrophe.
Calamity.
Okay. So you're looking at a global and domestic impact that he was not able and willing to stomach politically. He simply wasn't. And the notion that this wasn't going to have an economic impact to begin with is nuts. I mean, it's always had an economic impact. This has been a holy grail for Iran from day one. They've done this forever. The Strait of Hormuz has always been the issue, always been the issue. It's the issue that's brought American presidents to their knees, that has led to a 47-year history of appeasement. And it is the history, interestingly enough, that Donald Trump for 40 years has been repudiating in the strongest of terms. He has been unbelievably critical of every American president, most intensely Barack Obama, and he's literally done the same thing. This is just
Say that, George. You're saying it a lot nicer than you said it to me on the phone last
It
night.
makes me
I don't know
so
this,
sick.
This new
That's just-
George. I don't know where this fake George is here.
That's just
but
the
the
lead-in.
George last night. I mean, go ahead,
No,
George.
that's just the lead-in. I'm warming up.
Okay.
You know, I can say anything to you. I don't know about who I'm talking to. But
Everybody here knows what they're going to
So
get.
I would ask, and if you disagree, and J.D. Vance, whom I really like, has been a complete fucking idiot
No,
over the last few
he's
days.
been an embarrassment.
He's been a
I
complete
love him
fucking
too.
idiot because what he has said in many cases is simply abjectly not true. It's
like
not
what?
true. Everything I just said in my lead-in historically, it's as if he's never read a history book. Where has he been? Has he not followed what Iran has done? Why did they leave his ass sitting on a tarmac in Switzerland? Because they have him by the balls.
Yeah.
And what did Trump say? Interestingly, did you listen to what Trump said? I mean, I know he was joking around.
Yeah.
Hey, if this succeeds, I'll take the credit. If it doesn't, I'll blame it on JD.
That's like that,
And
yeah.
Marco Rubio, the
Quiet.
silent Secretary of
Quiet.
State, is in the background doing this. You're damn right. I think he's a ventriloquist. You're damn right. You're damn right, Jerry Vance. Where's Marco Rubio? He's one of the most, if not the most skilled
Articulate.
communicator for this administration. He's been out front. On stuff that's prickly.
Yep.
Major
So
prickly.
what do
Like
you
the
think's
Venezuela
happened?
operation was
I don't
unbelievably
think
prickly.
I don't think
the
he supports
dude.
this.
No, I don't. I'm telling you right now, Marco Rubio is not on board.
Nope.
He's not on board with this. But
agree.
okay, that's great. He'll sit there and he'll support his president. Good for him. That's his job. But he's not out there. Vance is out
So
there on his own.
apparent. It is
And the
so apparent.
arguments that Vance is making are borderline clueless to just outright dishonest. He was on Megyn Kelly a couple of days ago, and the way he framed the opposition, man, I'll tell you what, it pissed me right off.
What did he say? I didn't see it.
I'm going to find it. I want to get the man
Okay,
right.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I did pull it up, but he basically said that these are people who want the bombs to keep dropping, and they're not satisfied unless there's hundreds of thousands of boots on the ground to take over Iran.
Who said that? Who is he
That-
talking
that's
Who are
about?
Vance was
these
telling-
people?
But who are these people
No,
he's talking about?
inside the Republican Party. This is a guy who's done this, interestingly enough. He knows he needs the broad coalition that Trump had in order to win in 2028. And he's trying to appease everyone here, and it isn't going to work. He's not. Now, I'm not saying that he's being fake. I believe he believes this is the right course of action. I'm not saying he's not being sincere. I'm just saying he's being clueless, and in the process, he's being dishonest. Read a fucking history book, with all due respect, Mr. Vice President. They just grabbed you by your tiny little nuts on the tarmac in Switzerland. That's why you canceled your plans, because they came back and made you look like a bunch of idiots when you said, oh, yeah. At first, they said, oh, yeah, Israel has nothing to do with this. What's going on in Lebanon has nothing to do with this. Hezbollah has nothing to do with this. In fact, they canceled further negotiations because they wanted to come back and strong arm Israel in getting out of Lebanon, which they refused to do. Israel said fine. And by the way, just literally as we speak, there's a new quote unquote ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. And that's why the Strait of Hormuz remains open. The IRGC published on Iranian television this morning that the Strait of Hormuz was effectively closed. And if anybody tried to navigate through it, that do it at your own peril. We'll target you. Then, why? Because of Israel and Lebanon. So then they hurried up and go to Qatar, and now they negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Israel said, "We're not pulling out of. Is this a joke?
We're back at
Mr.
square
Vice
one,
President.
in other words.
We're not pulling. Why are we going to pull out of Lebanon? So we can be right back again 2 weeks from now?
Yep.
We're going to stay put. That's fine. We'll have a ceasefire. We'll just park here until they shoot at us again, and they target
They
people.
just killed. And I've been very critical of Israel, very critical of Israel. But you have to. The reason why they shot and hit Lebanon and Hezbollah is they killed 4 of their soldiers right before that. So you got look. We got to call balls and strikes, and you got to be honest about this. And so I called George and I said, and I think I texted Salo too. I mean, I texted you, Karen, on the thread, and I said, "Ooh, this is different."
Yeah.
I mean, Trump took Israel's nuts.
Name calling.
Trump took Israel's nuts
Yeah.
in public this week.
Yeah.
Think about what he said. You know what? You can't just knock down buildings, apartment buildings to find one person. There's a lot of people in there. And you know what? I think Syria should be going after Hezbollah now because they seem to be better at it. Holy shit. I mean, you better check.
You have to think about the family dynamic
an
too.
insane, stupid thing to say. Like Syria actually has the means to infiltrate Lebanon and go after Hezbollah. That's never going to happen. The guy who's in place right now, I think most people know, is a former Al Qaeda operative, right?
In Syria,
it's
yes.
Ahmed al-Shabazz or Ahmed al-Shara. I think it's Ahmed al-Shara. And he's Sunni. Yeah, I know Hezbollah Shiite. I got it. But they're not going to launch attacks into Syria like they have in Israel. Israel has a multi-decade history of Hezbollah launching thousands of missiles into it. That has never happened with Syria. It hasn't happened at all. It's not even close categorically. And by the way, Shahraz already said, if you think you're going to have, because I think Trump said, I think they could have surgical attacks into Hezbollah. Like he's telling Israel how to run a war now. And then the guy in Syria says, yeah, that's not going to happen. Of course it's not going to happen. I think they could do a better job. I'd be like, fuck you, man. Better job? Decades of this bullshit. And you're going to presume to tell us who's going to do a better job. And on top of it, they're Muslims? Got it. All right. Thanks, Mr. President. Appreciate that very much.
So essentially,
unbelievable.
George and Karen, is remember said no one's going to charge a toll for the Strait. We just paid a toll.
I know.
We just paid a toll.
Obama even has said this is the same deal.
We paid a toll. Why? How do we
Yeah.
pay a toll? Because now they are flowing. They're making money. And without a guarantee, without any deal on the table. This is just a memorandum of understanding. What are we going to do? This is a memorandum of understanding that we're going to start negotiating. So I benefited. Well, you benefit too, Mr. President, because you know your polls and you know your gas prices. Who's wearing so what Iran? I put this down because I was talking to Patrick, and we were venting to each other. Patrick in my office. Iran has shown that they have an economic weapon of mass destruction. I said, Patrick, I'm going to give you credit. They have an economic weapon of mass destruction, and they have the staying power, and as we say in Spanish, the ganas, the balls, the perseverance to wait it out because they're willing to pay the ultimate price. Oh, you kill 5 of them, we got 5 more. Oh, you kill 20 of them, we got 2 more. It doesn't matter. They have a different mindset. It was never going to be Venezuela. So when everyone said, "Oh, 2 more weeks, if we can get out," I go, "What?" I'm no war expert. I'm not a general, but I understand. I'm not an idiot. Who thinks that this is going to be over in 2 to 4 weeks? And at what cost? What are we doing here?
That sounds like I told you so.
Well, no, but let me tell you what I told Trump. No, it's not an I told you so, baby. Because
No. I know, but you did say all of this.
But I was like, what are you talking about? So, as I told George, I said, George, you know how Trump sounds like? He sounds like someone who's pissed that he was lied to. That's what he sounded like to me. By whom? It's towards Israel.
So hold on.
Sounds,
if he's been lied to, he should be irate.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, what made him change? He's never spoken like that publicly about Israel.
I think
Ever.
that the thing that you have to think about is
Taking your choice, give them somebody.
No,
brother,
but-
following what has been happening, just following what has been happening without bringing in, my opinions of Israel, your opinions, whatever. Just following stepwise what's been happening. Israel is launching a counter-offensive against Hezbollah.
And they should.
And they've been doing it very methodically. And they are in in Lebanon right now. And they have been for a couple of weeks, so several weeks. And this has been the case for decades. They literally go in, and Mr. Vice President should also pay attention to this part. Israel's got a stack about this high of agreements where the United Nations came in and endorsed it with their credibility, saying that in the event that Hezbollah didn't follow through on their commitments on one of their 4 million ceasefires, that the United Nations would intervene, right? That's never happened.
Never.
So Israel's got lots of agreements where they've gone in, oh yeah, ceasefire, they're going to be nice now. And by the way, we're there to help. Over and over and over again. So Israel's like, we're staying put. Because Trump wanted them, as part of the memorandum of understanding, wanted them to get out of Lebanon, which is insane.
That's right.
Okay? And so they said, tough shit, we're not doing it. Now, we're okay not shooting. We can, work with the ceasefire. If they don't shoot at us, we have no reason to shoot at them. So that's where we are right now. It'll last about 8 minutes. Why do I know that? Because Iran's foreign minister is on Iranian television talking about how they are going to fund the arming and the logistical support for Hezbollah, as well as the rest of their proxies. And Hezbollah is saying that
that's part of
Iran
the
has
agreement.
committed that to them.
Let me tell you what. So Iran is so part of this deal, if it ever comes a deal, is to unfreeze assets. Who does that sound like? Obama. I mean, it sounds like Obama. Now we're not doing cash at nighttime, and so Obama's a little bit worse, but similar to Obama. So what do you think they're going to use those assets for? Does anyone believe that Iran is not going to continue doing what they're doing? I mean, then I have oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. Iran has always pledged not to be seeking nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
They've always done that. That's nothing new. This does not mention ballistic missile development, this new deal. So they can continue to work on their ballistic missile development that will eventually reach the United States and Europe. It does not do anything to deter Iran to provide resources, as George said, to Hamas and Hezbollah. And so this deal is it's not even a deal.
I want to double down on what you just said because I want people to understand. I've read it. Axios published it. It's
The 14 points?
It's an absolute fact that the memorandum, once the memorandum of understanding is signed, which it is, the United States immediately permits Iran to immediately sell crude oil,
So go back to the beginning.
Make money.
petrochemical products, and related goods. And so what is this going to do? To Nico's point, immediate critical economic support to the Iranian regime. That's immediate. So they're making money hand over fist as we speak. They have not made, listen to me, they've not made one damn concession outside of, we'll play nice on the Strait of Hormuz.
Yep.
And even this morning, they exerted their muscle because they're empowered and said, hey man, do something about Israel because they're firing back at Hezbollah. I want to point out, offensive or defensive, if Hezbollah fires because this is what's going to happen. Hezbollah is going to fire at Israel. How do I know that? It has something to do with habit. 50 years. They're going to fire at Israel. Israel is going to defend itself. Iran's going to interpret that as a violation of the agreement.
Yep.
Here comes Trump and Vance.
Yep.
Right? To now, listen to the stupidity of this. These are the two allies that went to war together against Iran. So kudos, Iranians, for dividing the allies. Like the allies couldn't see this coming.
Indeed.
So that's all it takes
Indeed.
for them to say the United States, I'm sorry, it's not compliant. This agreement's null and void. That's what's going to happen. And everybody's going to hate on Israel. I know that's totally new. So Israel's going to be like, we actually weren't even talked to about the agreement. We were not a signatory to the memorandum of understanding. Anybody else, forget Israel. I don't care how much you hate them, I don't care how much you love them. Would that be okay with you?
No, of course
Would you
not.
be okay
No,
with that?
no.
Of course not. So that's where we are. Nico's talking about the economics. That's really important. The oil's flowing. Sources of revenue are coming. Imports and exports. They're making money hand over fist. The first day, it was like 5 million barrels of oil. Now here,
Karen, let that sink
I
in.
know.
Second question.
I can't.
So
go
the
ahead.
biggest advantage that Trump had over Iran, he released it without an agreement. That was it. Now, and then part of this agreement is going to release assets.
Yeah, but I keep on thinking,
without any control over your missile program and without any control about you funding. No understanding. So if there's any evidence that you're funding Hamas and Hezbollah, then you have violated the agreement. None of that's
by
going to be
Trump's
there.
own words, he said, this is not the final agreement. This is a memorandum of understanding. I'll go and drop bombs on them if they don't do it. Yeah, okay, whatever. So there was a time when that was believable. It's not believable anymore. He's been playing that bullshit for 78 days. It's not believable. That's part of the problem here. So I want to step back and just ask people again who think this is a great idea. Name one objective of Operation Epic Fury that has been achieved.
nothing.
One. I
It's
just
like
just
we've
want
gone
one.
back to
What-
the beginning.
We'll go over,
the
objectives.
ballistic-
Go over the objectives.
The decimation, destruction, to use an Obama word, degrading. Yeah, degrading as a count. The objective was to destroy their ballistic missile arsenal.
Yep.
That has not been achieved. I'm sorry. Now, a lot's been done, but that hasn't been achieved.
They have a ton.
Their stockpile has not been obliterated. I'm sorry, it simply has not. Their defensive capabilities, yes, they have drones. I'm sorry, they knocked down an Apache helicopter. They didn't do it with spitballs. They did it with drones. So where do those come from, right? The idea of the Navy being at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, I've stated that. CENTCOM has phrased it that way. I think that's overall quite legitimate. But there are elements of the Navy that have not been destroyed. Significant elements. We have coastal mine batteries that allow them to deploy attacks into the Persian Gulf. We have small boats with machine guns that are able to do that. They're able to plant mines that way. They're able to attack. How are they able to attack tankers? They don't do it with emails. They do it with military capabilities. How are they able to do that? Okay, so they have ships. They have mines that they're able to deploy. So that has not been achieved. What about to eliminate Iran's ability to arm and fund their proxies? Who are their proxies? The Houthis in Yemen. We've heard all about it. The Hezbollah in Lebanon, like we were talking about. Yes, Hamas in Gaza. Has Iran stopped those things in any way? No, they're doubling down on it. They said they're going to fund them, and Hezbollah said they're waiting on Iran to provide logistical and other support so they can continue their jihad. That hasn't been achieved. What about the nuclear stuff? The nuclear dust. That's fine. Call it whatever you want. What exactly have we obtained?
How do we get out of this
We've
then?
obtained, Nico, a big ass promise. That's what we have,
Which they've
is
done many times
all
before.
we've ever
They're
had.
laughing.
Always a promise.
Not one objective
So let
has
me.
been
I want to say. I
achieved.
want to take a little break, a commercial break. So as objectively critical as we are on Trump right now, and from two big Trump supporters,
Yeah.
and George arguably bigger than I am, but I've always been a Trump supporter. Just because I've criticized him doesn't mean I criticize my kids, and I'm a supporter of my kids because I want them to do better. So I want him to do better. And I'm never going to vote for nationally a Democrat. It's just not going to happen. Not because of the ideology. But so before everybody gets too excited, there's no way a Democrat president would have done anything. They would have. We'd be even worse. We wouldn't even have to go to war because they'd be down. We wouldn't have to go to war over there because they'd be coming bringing war to us over here. Yeah. So let's put that in the record as well. So as objectively critical as we're being, and I think it's rightfully so. It's been earned. Democrats would have mucked this thing up a lot sooner and a lot worse. So I mean,
And we might not have even known what was going on.
we wouldn't have gone to war
Yeah.
for sure. We wouldn't, and they would have been further along, and there would have been
Yeah.
more danger, and this world would have been worse. And I'll go on and on and on and on. But we're going to be objective about this because this has been horribly handled, in my humble opinion, for all the reasons George is talking about. And this MOU to me shows tremendous desperation. And I hate to say that, but I have to say it because it's true. It shows the bottom line is, and George, you said it. Unfortunately, as tough as Trump has been, and as steadfast as he's been, and as heels in the ground, FU as he's been, which I like that style, he folded. He folded for the gas prices, energy costs, inflation will rise. His own Fed appointee, his own Federal Reserve appointee declined to raise, to lower
Because
interest rates.
inflationary pressures are what they
can't.
are.
That's-
They
but
get
that's my point.
exacerbated. Now, I've always said, because Nico and I have had kind of a, because I know you believe strongly that this has a direct effect on the midterms. I've always been a little cautious because I said there's a time window there in which he can do whatever he needs to do.
What do you think now?
Well, we've actually had some good news this week. Oh
my God.
No, hold on. But my thesis,
wanna hear it. I wanna
my
hear it. I wanna
thesis
hear
from
it.
the very beginning
wanna
has
hear
been,
it.
I'm
I'm
going to
not.
start playing Candy Crush right now. I don't want to listen.
That's good. I want to hear it.
Go ahead.
My thesis from the very beginning has been I'm not convinced that the Iran war itself is going to affect the midterms. I'm just not convinced. Now, the effect of the Iran war, not the war itself, the effects of the Iran war, economic, the ones that Nico's alluding to here, that have created substantial economic pressures in the wrong direction, despite all the good things that have been done economically, the one big beautiful bill, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, these have been brutal. I mean, gas prices up more than 30%. You've got inflation that has just skyrocketed. Okay, that is what people are ultimately going to take with them to the ballot
that's my
box,
point.
and I believe that. So, but the Iran war itself, I think most people were on board with that, and I realize that certainly not everyone. In both parties, you have factions of MAGA who have been total non-interventionists, and they've been totally against it from day one. But overall, in the beginning stages, people were on board. That is not the case anymore. And so Trump has been he's been losing support. He's been losing support in his own party. He's been certainly losing support across, and just by virtue of every poll that I've read where registered voters are examined, he's been bleeding support. And it's because of the economic pain that the Iran war has caused. No question about it. What he did, though, is he exacerbated it. He was doing beautiful with Operation Epic Fury. He was doing beautifully with that. I've read military journals who've done analysis on this, and when we say that the ballistic missile arsenal, for instance, that objective has not been achieved in terms of destroying it, about 60 to 70% of it has. But that's still a lot of munitions that we leave on the table for Iran to exact a lot of damage on its allies, or excuse me, on our allies. And so why was that? Why didn't he finish that job? Why? Why didn't he continue? I want to know why, with Israel's capabilities and the American resources and resolve, why we couldn't wipe out. Why can't we assassinate the IRGC
I
leadership?
keep on thinking maybe it has something, and this is just a far-reaching guess, but maybe it has something to do with Jared Kushner and his relationship with Netanyahu, and maybe that's who President Trump has been listening to because he's family. But the relationship between Kushner and Netanyahu is like Jared Kushner grew up with him, like uncle, Bibi. So is he listening to the wrong person?
Are you saying there's a personal element?
I think that there is, because why else would he have stuck with this so long in the wrong direction?
Well, I don't know if Israel had influence over this. I'm not a Kushner fan, so I want to try to be objective as I can. But I think we went in to Iran to do this on our own accord. I mean, forget about Israel for a second. Like I don't believe that Israel's the boogeyman. I know Salo does. I don't. And I don't believe that they walk between the raindrops like other pastors believe and some other people believe. I just don't. I look at Israel for what it is. Terribly flawed, not perfect, deceitful, survivalist, opportunist. Sounds like the United States also.
But not even a little bit of influence?
No, I didn't say that. I said they have
Okay.
an influence, but to control, occupy. Guess what?
Tell them what to do.
To all my brothers, and mainly brothers, one's right over here, and another one that I hope is listening at some point. To all my brothers who say that Israel has occupied the United States, Trump is owned by the United States. Mark Levine, which I can't stand Mark Levine and Shapiro, but regardless, I mean, Trump endorses Ken Paxton. Comes out against Cornyn, who AIPAC supported Cornyn, and takes Israel's nuts on a world global stage and makes a deal that they're not happy with and tells them to stand down. Oh, and by the way, you suck because Syria could do it better, which is not objectively true. But I mean, talk about
Just saying
I
that,
mean,
yeah.
But
someone
even
broke
the
up.
scenario Karen gave, that ceasefire, Israel didn't want that. They wanted to finish the job because they knew.
But all I'm saying, yes, get on that point. All I'm saying is, where does that go into your logic, Saulo, and everybody else that thinks that? Where how does that go into your? Because then they say, oh yeah, they'll come up with some excuse. It doesn't make any sense. All I'm saying. So influence, yes, Israel has had tremendous influence, like we have influence, like a lot of countries have. Like I have influence over George. I don't control George, and he has influence over me. He doesn't control me. So yes,
I
of course.
understand, yeah.
But so that's all I'm saying.
This is why you go from the legitimate criticism, let's say, of a LaHood to anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism ascribes these otherworldly, demonic, supernatural characteristics to Israel, where, when Nico asks a rational question, how does this fit in? They would say, well, that's all part of the sovereign plan of Israel.
Yeah.
They're the kind of these sort of uber puppeteers. See, you've left the rational now, and so there's no getting those folks back. And I rarely even try, but I kind of want to get back to because Nico asked the same question. What is it? And all I can do is follow Trump's actions. He's been talking about the economics of it, and there's no way that hasn't put significant pressure on him. The second reason is we need to deal with this. And his executive order the second this thing was quote unquote signed, there's an executive order that he signed in the last 48 to 72 hours to replenish American munitions. We are grossly depleted. Now, it's not his fault. I mean, we've been doing this bullshit and starving American munition production capabilities for years.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and I've always wondered, because you've got Gulf allies and we simply couldn't protect them. We didn't have the ability to protect our bases like we could. It always bothered me. And there's been lots of stories here and there about us not being able to, we simply don't have the resources, the military resources. We have the money, we just haven't produced them. We don't have the resources to be able, if we need to fight a war on two fronts, we're in deep shit. So Trump comes out and says, ramp it all up.
Good.
This is like all hands on deck. And so the reality is a protracted war. I don't even know that we had the ability to finish the job.
Wow.
I'm looking at what the man's doing, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is like
Doesn't
the
make any sense.
urgency is like,
Just
oh my
go
God.
in and finish it. We
And
can't.
so I don't know that we even had.
Wow.
So here's where Nico goes with this. Where's the PR? I know you don't want to broadcast to our enemies, but there's a way to Keep Americans abreast of milestones, of what it is that you're trying. There's been shady communication outside of what Marco Rubio has weighed in on
And now
various
he's
talk
quiet.
shows. And now he's quiet, the silent secretary.
Which
So
is awful.
there's been very poor communication. I don't think that's helped. I think Trump has had some real issues he's trying to navigate, but I think the communication has been terrible. And now we're in a situation, that ceasefire, man, I'm telling you, and maybe we just,
This has been.
but why didn't we know that?
But George,
why didn't we know that ahead of
been
time?
This has been a failure. Because everyone that says, and you're one of them, and I'm not saying this in critical, but you believe this, and I believe it too, that Israel has all this intel, and we have all this intel, and all the. Well, obviously somebody screwed this deal up. Somebody, because this is a horrible look. I believe we've lost. If our goal was regime change, and we didn't say it was, but it was.
But back up just
it
a
was.
moment. I'm criticizing our own advisors for not saying to the
what I'm
president, here's how long we can keep fighting, for goodness sakes.
But what I'm saying is that allies should have come together and planned this out. What are you capable of doing? What do you know? What are we capable of doing? What do we know? What are you prepared to do? What are we prepared to do? And Trump rightfully was pissed off at other allies that didn't allow us to use bases, fly over space, all that other crap. Got it, check. But this was this is horribly planned. There's just no other way to say it. You have got to take your licks. Trump supporters, me and George, take your licks. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got he obviously got horrible advice. Someone didn't play it out. As I always say, play it out. It's a wonderful idea, but play it out. What does it look like? How do you implement it? And what does it look like in 5 or 10 years, depending on the circumstance? But here, 5 or 10 months. Play it out. And now we're closer. And we've been saying this. It's like we're not genius. Well, George is. I'm not a genius. I mean, we're just sitting here thinking, well, this is getting pretty close to midterms. You think the Iranians reading the book, How to Make a Deal, what is it?
Art of the Deal.
Art of the Deal? Like, ha, 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 let me add another chapter into this. And they added another chapter and said, gave him the Catucci and said, let me add this to your book, Trump. It really feels that way because they waited him out. They knew exactly. He said, you go into a deal. This way, you want a better deal? You have to have superior knowledge. You have to have more patience. Superior patience, and you have to have more options. And we didn't have them.
Yeah.
We didn't have superior knowledge. We don't have patience because we have a timeline, the midterms. And then what options do we have? Blow them up, send in troops, or wait, no matter what, closer to the midterms, that's going to be, so that midterm, and they knew they always had that midterms. They were willing to sacrifice anyone and anything to hold on to the midterms. I just believe that. And they saw the effects of this. And now, there's going to be delayed inflationary effects. Yeah. This is going to change gas prices. This will ease up people's whatever and energy costs. And what is our long-term memory? I don't know what voters are going to do. They take Iran and economics into the booth in a few months? If they do, then Trump and the Republicans are in trouble.
Meantime, Bush, Clinton, Obama, they're all sitting down having lunch.
I'm simply saying,
course they're laughing.
if we didn't have the means to continue, then we should have known.
God, George.
All right, we should have known that. Now, there's two issues. Iranian intelligence is very useful to kind of give us the temperature of things on the ground in Tehran. I mean, Mossad's very skilled at that. And so they could say, and here's what I think is frighteningly absent. Why is there no calls for people in Iran to rise up anymore
Why would they?
against
They
their
can't.
oppressors?
Why would they?
No, I mean, it stopped.
Why?
Trump, that actually, in the beginning, in the
know.
first 30 days, he kept talking about that.
And then 30,000 were killed.
But I mean, I'm wondering about that.
That's
Like,
not part of the deal, by the way. Don't kill your people for speaking. Nothing's in the deal. So nothing's in the deal.
So that's my problem. We're seeing all these points of appeasement. It's not just one thing. It's points of appeasement, and there's a narrative here. And I don't know how Trump can call people fools for calling out simply what they're seeing. And I'm no war hawk. I'm no fan of the Afghan war. I was a huge critic of the Iraq war. I am not Lindsey Graham. I'm sorry, but I think I'm trying to find out. Let me tell you what this achieves. There's two silver linings. One, yes, Trump did more than any other president in terms of going after this regime. And it is true that we exacted a lot of damage on this regime. I don't want to downplay that.
Yep,
it's
I agree.
significant.
I agree
I'm
with
simply talking about objective A, did you achieve objective? We didn't achieve those objectives, but we made inroads. My worry is that we've given them enough buffer, enough breathing room, enough oxygen to reconstitute those capabilities. Even if they reconstitute a fifth of them, 3/5, that's more than, because that translates to lost American lives and lost American influence. I'm not okay with that. And I think the ceasefire reversed some of those gains. I don't think that's a great idea. So the silver lining is that we degraded, to use Obama's term, which is better than nothing. I think the second one is the only thing that the deal does, and that is to basically give us about 60 days of an open Strait of Hormuz, kind of, until they decide.
But think about how stupid that is. And I'm sorry, there's no other way to say it. So what are we in? We're in June. Put 60 days out there. June, July, August. So August 20th or
A
whatever
couple of
it is.
months,
August
and then it's
20th.
midterms.
Now what? Now let's say Iran says, hey,
Anything can happen,
'cause
right.
I know enough Arabic to get into a fight, Tel hastizi, whatever you want to say. It means F off, essentially. Now what are you going to do? Now you're late August, and what are you going to do then? Now what?
So he drops bombs.
Yeah, now
right?
what? How
Okay.
that's going to work out for you?
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that's the right thing to do. Don't get me wrong, but there's a political consequence to that. You're gonna pay somewhere.
Yep.
And if his thing is the midterms, his presidency is over in November if he loses, if the Republicans lose.
Yeah, I mean, we simply can't afford
I've been
to
saying
lose.
that. We've been saying that
Well,
for
even
months.
he's saying that. He's like,
Look-
I only have 3 years left. I can't. I mean, this is going by quickly.
No, you don't.
You can't afford to lose even one house.
Right.
You
No, you
can't.
Right.
And so that's the rub right now. We just have to deal with that reality. I don't appreciate being called a fool as a Trump supporter. I certainly don't help being lectured to by somebody who apparently hasn't read a history book in the name of J.D. Vance. And it's interesting. What you've noticed is in January and February when they're looking at Vance and Rubio was around, I mean, this is way back, maybe way back in political terms is 6 months ago. But Rubio's on what, 11, 12%? CNN was reporting on this, and Vance was at 50%. Guess what? Guess what's changed? I'm telling you, Rubio's going to start looking really, really good here. Really good. I think that Vance is on thin ice. And he really needs to reassess how he wants to frame these operations.
It was
anyway.
not even a strong showing on The View. I was like, what?
I didn't watch that.
What?
I didn't hear a lot. I didn't watch all of it. I watched clips.
watch
I
it.
thought he did well.
He did okay,
Well,
but
what I
he
saw, I didn't
let
see
them
I didn't go back.
talk, and then let's go to a break.
Well, think about this. Look, he's not going to talk over a woman, and he's not going to
Yeah.
get into a cackling fight with them. So
But what was the point then?
for
Talk
them,
about his
you
new
know what one
book.
of them said? One of them I heard. I didn't see this part. Again, I got to go back and watch it all. I saw little clips of it that people sent, but
Yeah.
I think one of them said that we could vote for someone like you. I mean, look, that's the
didn't know
the
that.
JD Vance, Marco Rubio effect on people. They don't look. JD Vance, I like him a lot. I agree with George on his assessment of how this is being handled, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said like, hey, we got to prep you up for presidency.
And if Vance is the nominee, I'm going to vote for him.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
not
a
even a
no-brainer. I mean, he's got my
It's
support.
not a
but,
question.
Can I just want to leave with what Iranian television is reporting. This is the Foreign Ministry. This is yesterday. He says
Americans
that they just
crumbled.
defeated,
told
with
you.
the memorandum of understanding, they've defeated 2 nuclear powers. We truly are a superpower. That's a quote. And then he continues to say, as I speak with you now, the text of the memorandum of understanding has been signed by the presidents of Iran and the United States. The text of the Iran-U.S. memorandum of understanding is now officially finalized as both parties have signed it. And then he continues, Iran will monitor the U.S. compliance without any,
That makes me boil. I mean,
Without
I can't
any
tell you how much
leniency.
that makes
They
me
believe
boil.
they're on the same level.
and we're gonna make sure that the United States fulfill its end of the obligations and we will watch if they evade, quote unquote, evade their obligations. Within the 60-day window, the other side must not take action to reinforce its military presence in the region or impose new sanctions. Such actions would be considered a violation of the agreement. And then he said something, this is fascinating to me because this is part of the agreement. He's already saying he's not going to do it. Watch. He said, transferring enriched nuclear material out of the country is unacceptable to us. Diluting enriched material is not a new option because the memorandum of understanding says to either extract it or you actually dilute it from an enriched state to a less than enriched state. He's saying we're not transferring it and we are not diluting it. It's not a new option. It's been introduced as one option so as not to close the door on the other options, but he's ambiguous about it. Then he says this, Iran's missiles are meant to be fired, not negotiated over. Our missiles don't even like being talked about. Ha ha ha. Iran's defensive capabilities will not be discussed in any process with any party. Iran will charge fees for services in the Strait of Hormuz.
They already have.
The mechanisms for managing the Strait of Hormuz have been largely agreed upon with Oman. Our enemies have inflicted harm on us, but a wounded lion remains a lion. The war they imposed not only did not bring us to our knees, it made us stronger. We defeated 2 nuclear superpowers that were also backed by some other countries. We are not making slogans. We truly are a superpower. End of quote.
Now imagine those people with a nuclear weapon, and you tell me if we didn't do the right thing going in. We just did the wrong thing by not finishing the job.
This is the people
That's
that
ridiculous.
are promising to comply.
Yeah.
So just to say, this is not a peace agreement. It's not a treaty. It's not a deal. It's a deal in search of a deal. That's what this is.
They're
60
telling
days.
us FAFO. That's what they're
Yeah.
telling us.
Yeah.
So,
it's
so
good.
Trump,
You're
talk-
right,
Trump.
Karen.
There's a
good.
Trump that was believable, and where he says, "I'm going to drop bombs on your head." I remember 2-3 months ago, he made that, said he was going to bomb their infrastructure. You remember all of that, and they immediately came to the table. He just said the same thing a few days ago.
I know.
Iran didn't budge. Iran didn't budge, and we went to a deal anyway. You gotta watch this stuff.
God, George, it's
I'm no genius. I'm just telling you, I can read and I know history. I mean, I'm just stunned. I'm with Senator Kennedy on this from Louisiana. He said, unless you've been homeschooled by a day drinker, no one believes.
So good. That was so
no one
good.
believes that Iran's going to do anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
47 years.
But let me tell you this: Iran's ideology is not much different than what the report in the UK found about those rape gangs.
Got to go there.
It's
Please
not- it's
tell
not-
me. Please tell
it's
me
not
about
different.
that.
Got to go
Well, we
there.
don't have a whole bunch of time to talk about it, but I'm
Yeah.
just telling you right now. This UK Muslim rape gang issue. The leader. So there's different parties over there. There's the Restore Party. There's another party. Rupert Lowe from the Restore Party commissioned an investigation because he couldn't get governmental. He had to use private money.
With the two parties being the Labor and the Tories,
okay.
right? So it's kind of analogous: Labor, liberal, Democrats, to the Tories being Republicans or conservatives. And then you do have a bunch of sub parties underneath that.
Right, but all I'm saying is they commissioned an investigation into the rape gangs. The report will make your blood boil. The report. 250,000 British girls and women have been subjected to sexual attacks, and at least sexual attacks. And some of the stories are heartbreaking and horrific. So anyone that is going to be an Islamic sympathizer, and I have a different word for that now, and somebody else made it up, I'm sure. But what is happening there, don't think can happen here. Now, does that mean that every Islamic person supports this? No, but this is supported by the ideology. And so you have people that
what they're capable of.
You criticize Islam rightfully, objectively, you're called an Islamophobic. But there's something called Islamophilia. If an Islamophobe is an irrational fear of Islam, Islamophilia is an irrational love for Islam with no objective evidence to support it up, because you just want to be liked and you don't want to be called a name and you want to be a peacekeeper, not a peacemaker, which is antithetical to the biblical Matthew 5, right? All I'm saying is this is real. If you read this report, and if it doesn't make your blood curdle, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, then there's something wrong with you, because these women, what they've been subjected to in that country and the culture, what they've been subjected to by this ideology that's evil. This ideology is evil. Over 250, where are these women's rights? 250,000 women and children have been trafficked and have been horribly sexually assaulted and abused.
No, it's
Horrifically.
It's like very detailed
And not supported by the government.
correct. Championed
Yeah,
by
but they didn't say anything.
championed by Rupert Lowe, who's a member of Parliament. It's called the Rape Gang Inquiry Report, 219 pages. Nico, I want to pull out just a couple of clips from what it's saying and how it's described. It literally goes back over like a 6 to 7 decade history. This has been building. It goes back to 1955.
Wow.
And he puts the blame, or they put the blame squarely on the shoulders of labor politicians. Guys like Harold Wilson, and starting in 1964 to 1970, and then he was in office as a prime minister, and starting adopting language of racial discrimination, being overly preoccupied with that. And then he gives a lot of history, and he identifies specific politicians. He identifies specific policies and laws in the UK that have created an environment where the exploitation of what he calls white women and young girl Brits. And he says it this way. He says, repeated rape, estimated number of white girls, like you said, subject to be at least 250,000, repeated rape, gang rape, trafficking, torture, pregnancy, forced Islamic conversion, and lifelong trauma, and across 149 authority districts, and he names all of them. And then he says this.
No reprieve.
Right. And he says His Majesty's government must take action. And this underscores that the horror of these crimes is compounded not only by the perpetrators' religious and cultural justifications. Who are we talking about? Pakistani Muslim networks, but it's They make up the majority, about 87 to 95%. But there's others: Somali, Syrian, Iranian, Islamic perpetrators. Decomposes all that in a report.
Wow.
And it says it's not just their religious and cultural justifications. It's that compounded with the pervasiveness of the crimes, but by the widespread and decades-long failure of virtually every institution charged with protecting the victims and holding the offenders accountable, because they didn't, and here's what he says: police forces ignored repeated reports, criminalized victims instead of perps, destroyed evidence, and allowed known rapists to walk free on bail. The major concern here was being called racist or Islamophobic. That is the greatest concern they had when they looked the other way. And they undermined, in their view, protective parents. They placed children in trafficking hubs inside children's homes.
They placed them back. They returned them back to the traffickers in some cases.
What?
They closed cases despite clear indicators of exploitation and retaliated against whistleblowers. This is a culture of corruption built on fear.
The government helped promulgate this. Their own government. Your government can't protect you, then you don't have a government.
Because they didn't want to hurt feelings or be racist?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. This is exactly what we're talking. So if you don't think that can happen here, you're crazy. And so this is not. And we have got to be able to have these discussions about an ideology that is destructive and is antithetical to a constitutional republic or to any normal society. And if you think we're crazy, just go look at any Islamic theocratic government, meaning theocracy, meaning that the Islamic ideology runs the government, like Iran. Which what George just read. This is exactly what the same over there. Go to Yemen. Go to any place where there's a Islamic theocracy, where they implement Sharia law. Study Sharia law. Study the Hadiths. Study the Sirah. Just study the history of Islam. If you want to look for a good video, Bill Federer has a great video out there. There's a number of videos. Maybe I can give it to Salvo to kind of post it on the thing. Study the history of Islam. Just study it from Muhammad in the 5th, 6th century, all the way till now, and what happened and how it broke up, and what happened and they split, and how it spread all across Europe, and then the Crusades, and what happened there, and how they were pushed back. I mean, it's really fascinating, but we're seeing a repeat of it again. And this is nothing. And we all know someone who's Islamic. I get it. I know people that are. I don't need to say Muslim because those are. I know that, but I don't say that word. I think about Islam. I want to talk about Islam because we all know a peaceful, a nice, an honorable Muslim. Of course, I get that. That's not the point. But they have rejected an aspect of Islam. I promise you that. And so when you talk about radical Islam, that is a false term. Islam, if you study it, is radical. That's just a fact. That's not mean. That's not anything. Just study the books. Just understand the ideology. See how it's been implemented over the centuries, and you know that. Now, is it militant? Yes, that's a different story, whether someone adheres to it militantly. But it's radical in its nature because of what it says and advocates for, how it treats women. Look, in a Western culture, the Christian and the Western culture will maybe try to convince and persuade someone in the LGBT community to not live that lifestyle, or to say, what God's plan is for them and design, and have this debate and don't force it on kids. But no one's throwing them off buildings and no one's going to kill them.
Yeah.
But under Islam, it's allowed.
Yeah, it is. But it's interesting because Islam has always been there. Like Nico said, I mean, Muhammad died in 632, so it's been around a long time. So why does this seem to be, a modern concern? Why are we perplexed by this? Why is this becoming such a major issue? Because at the same time in the West, we've had an underlying religious movement called multiculturalism. We think it's noble and virtuous, and it's not. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's irrational, and it's plain false. The notion that every culture is the same, or that it aspires to equal goods, and that it's equally beneficial to all people groups. That's insane. That's insane to believe that. And the report, what I loved about it is that I actually spends time looking at what's going on in the West that made it more open to Islam. And they said this: the concern to shield Muslims from criticism at all costs went hand in hand with a more general ideological shift organized around the unquestioning treatment of minorities as special victim groups. It's rooted in the left-wing, liberal paradigm of the 60s. This minoritarian outlook first scored political victories in the 60s. It became popular in the 1970s, and it exploded in 1997 with the advent of Tony Blair's prime ministership. And it's just, and under Keir Starmer, that guy is ridiculous. He is just a miscreant as it comes to this. Yeah. And so it is a worldview that has gone hand in hand with Islam. this idea that every culture is equal and that it seeks an equal good among people groups. It's fallacious. It's
The most
simply
common
not
baby name in
true.
Britain, UK is Muhammad.
Yeah.
That should it just that's insane to me. Look what's happening in Ireland. Look what's happening. There's pushback, and at some point, cultures and citizens are going to say enough is enough. At some point,
Well, it's that worldview that has allowed these gangs to operate with impunity and exact this kind of horror on young women and young girls.
and they don't have the Second Amendment there, and they don't have a constitution.
That's correct.
Is
And-
there
and
any stop to it? Like what's happening right now?
No, so now what's happened, literally one day after, the European Parliament voted on what is perhaps the most aggressive migration-related bill. And you could hear it. I listened to them. At the very end, they're like, send them back, send them back. So they passed it
Wow.
on vastly increasing deportations.
Wow.
Literally one day after this report
Well, look
was
at
released
Poland.
this
Look
week.
look at Japan. Look at other countries. Italy. Enough's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just. I mean, and look what's happening in Texas. Governor Abbott better wake the hell up, and all the reps and everybody else better wake up and understand what's happening here. That Epic City here, they called it Epic City. That was
Seriously,
shut
yeah.
down by criticize them all you want, but Ken Paxton and others. I mean, look. I mean, this is not a game. I'm serious, but look, there's more. I mean, look, I wanted to just say something about Father's Day. I mean, just before we wrap up. I mean, I've seen the justice system the importance of both roles of daddy and mommy. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's God's prescription. I mean, to have a dad lead, a mom nurture, mutual submission to each other, loving a child and starting them off in the way they shall go. And then when they get older, hopefully they will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. And it takes both a mommy and a daddy. And if you're divorced, then okay, it doesn't mean that you can't work together. I can't stand when they use the kids against each other and all this other shit. But a true dad, a true father, a true man should lead well, should raise their child up to, as I always say, I want to raise my kids to where they don't need me anymore, that they want me around. They don't need me anymore because they have their own relationship with Jesus Christ and they're going to heaven when they're called off this earth. They don't need me anymore because they can fend for themselves, that they can fight, they can think, critically think, and they're formidable. If you're not formidable, then you will always be trampled on. They don't need me because they can provide for themselves and they have a career or a way to live. They have a passion, hopefully, and they're making money. They don't need me anymore because they have their own families and that they're serving and that they've taken over to lead, but that they want me around. That's my goal as a daddy, and I think that's good stewardship. And part of that is a good daddy. I've seen the effects. There's studies out there, the incarceration rates, recidivism rates of an absent dad in the home. And I'm a true father figure. And so I always say this: most men can father a child. It just means you're a sperm donor. But there's few men, unfortunately, that are truly a daddy. And if you're not someone's father, you can be their daddy. You know, and I don't mean that in a fun way, like a Trump way. I mean that literally. You can serve in that daddy role, a male figure in that role, teaching them chivalry, teaching them respect for women, teaching them to stand up, teaching them not to take the easy road, take the right road. And if the right road is hard, then you take the right road, period, end of story. Teaching them, for me, that you're going to look up, because when you look up, that's where you're going to be. That's who you're going to be standing in front of when you're called off this earth. Teaching about stewardship, teaching about purpose, teaching about mission, teaching about favor and gifts and setbacks and how to handle them and how to deal with conflict and how to win well, because you can win poorly and you can lose poorly. You have to learn how to win well and you have to learn how to deal with setbacks well. And although that comes through your mommy as well, but the role of a daddy is unmatched as well. And you can see that. And you can see that the most significant, and there's studies that say this, I'm not going to quote them now, but many believe, and there's studies that have proven that the most significant relationship in a woman's life is a relationship with her daddy. It's true. And I hope, may my daughters want to marry someone like me. I hope. Then I've done it well, right? Because I want them to know that. And so that relationship will set the tone of how you will let a man treat you, what you look for in this, what your value is, what you think of womanhood and manhood and all these other things. I mean, don't get me wrong. Proverbs 31:10, I believe women are amazing. I mean, I honor, revere my wife because I can't do it alone, man. I mean, I'm not the one that gave birth. She did. I mean, I had the easy part. So when men say we had a baby, you didn't have shit, guy. She had the baby. You just watched. I mean, so I'm that dude, and I talk about women and honor them and revere them. But the role of a daddy should not be downplayed. And that whole bullshit attack on toxic masculinity, there is nothing toxic about true biblical masculinity. Nothing. I think it's beautiful. I think it's divine. I think it honors God and it honors a family and honors this country ultimately. And so I just want to wish Happy Daddy's Day to many men out there. And if you've been a shitty daddy, then pray about it. If you're a man of prayer, and change course. You can rekindle.
any
There's
point.
can be
hope.
restoration.
Yes,
There's hope. You can rekindle a relationship with your child. And if the Lord has put another kid in your life that you're not the father, but you are the daddy, then do it well, and be a great daddy. So, happy Father's Day, happy Daddy's Day to all the
Happy
daddies
Father's
out there,
Day to you guys.
and all the future daddies as well too, and mommies. Just love on your daddies and your fathers this weekend.
They'll appreciate it.
Yeah, man. God bless you guys. Thanks for joining in. Please share this with someone you think may benefit from it. Have a wonderful, blessed weekend. Happy Father's Day. Bye bye.